Story Chat with John Fornoff, the art and passion of storytelling. Here's your host, Brian Bullabush.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Story Chat, our little corner of the internet where we get to talk and hopefully encourage and teach about the art and passion of storytelling. How you doing, John?
I am doing wonderful. Thank you.
Your background's
Thank
a
you.
little blurry. I hope
but
the rest
at
of the world is in focus for you.
That's, whoa, metaphor. I love metaphors. Yes. At least I'm not fuzzy, but you might think differently as we go along. But anyway, we'll see. But moving right along, we have a special guest with us today. And this is a friend of yours. And I tell you what, you get to introduce him, and then I'll give all the bio stuff. Okay.
Oh, you guys,
so,
if you've been listening, you got to meet him last week. This is Caleb Towns. How you doing, Caleb?
Hey, how's it going? I am also fuzzy, but that's just the beard on my face.
Yeah. It's,
Okay.
Dude, that thing looks amazing, by the way.
Thank you.
Like, you're rocking the Viking look.
This
I
is
love
what
it.
about maybe 2 or 3 weeks of growth? I'm just kidding.
Wow.
I was about to be very jealous.
Yeah,
oh, man,
no.
my nose hairs will do that, but nothing else. Well, Caleb is a film and theater actor from Virginia and soon to be from California. He can tell about that a little bit later. Yes.
Yeah.
He's also been a director and founding member of Rogue Productions Presents Theater Company. He's a writer, he's a director, he's an actor, and we want to talk about a little bit about the storytelling from those perspectives. He very passionate. He wears what?
He wears so many hats. He started losing his hair.
Okay. I thought you were going to talk about his underwear, but I'm so glad you didn't. So
No.
He's so passionate about storytelling that he decided to join Story Chat. So he's here with us now. Welcome, Caleb.
Hey, it's great to be back. Loved talking with you guys last time, so excited to do it again.
Awesome, fantastic. Well, I wanted to jump in real quick, and Brian, feel free to jump in too. We're just we're like co-hosting here. So
story chatting is, I think,
we're story chatting.
Story chatting.
Oh, we got it. Now it's a verb. We're story chatting. So I'm fascinated about storytelling from different perspectives, because we've got actors that are watching and listening. We've got mostly writers, but we've got actors, we've got directors, we've got writers, that kind of stuff. And I wanted to hold on for a second. Can you hear that?
No, you're good.
Oh, okay. I got a call coming in. Sorry. but tell us from that, how does storytelling, what is it from your perspective? What's different in those different, like, what's the same, what's different, what's is from an acting point of view, writing point of view, directing point of view? How is storytelling different, or how's it the same in those different areas?
It's a big question with a lot of thoughts that just jumped in my head all at once. Let's start from a writer's perspective. To me, writing is such a sandboxy thing to do. I mean, it is your world, it is your creation, it is your failures and your triumphs. It is all there on you when you are writing. And that is intimidating. It's very scary. And I would say it's probably the thing that I still find, I would not boast about a lot of my writing abilities. That's something I love to do. It's fun to do. I love to do it. And I've been doing it for a while, but it's the thing that I think just still the most, I'm still working at the most and learning and growing at.
What have you written? Just to like, a great thing about writers is sometimes just completing something is boast worthy. So what have you completed? What are you proud of?
Sure.
Novels,
well, I mean, and that's the other thing, you end up working on so many things and different projects over the years. It's like, is this something that's ever going to happen? Is it something that's good? I don't know. Do we take it back to square one? The things that I'm honestly the most proud of writing, I write a lot of RPG campaigns, and for D&D, for Pathfinder, for Star Wars, anything that they have a system out for, I like to write campaigns. And I think that I like to write those. Sometimes I like to create my own stories, my own worlds and everything. I think that's super fun. But there's just something fun about also knowing that the thing that you're creating is going to get told in different ways each time somebody, runs through that story. You're building the bones of a world, and then you get to let someone else experience the joy of living in it.
It's a living story.
It's a living story. And so building the bones of story. But I've also written a few short stories, novellas in that sense. I'm working on a few larger works that I'm still, you know, plugging along at. But like I said, I think the overwhelming thing about writing is that you're basically given a blank canvas. You know, you have ideas, you have stories, but, you know, at the end of the day, it's all up to you. The world you create is yours. And so transitioning that into a director's standpoint, now you're at that sort of second phase of creating a story where you have these bones, these beautiful foundation of someone's writing, of someone's work that's just, you know, absolutely gorgeous. And then it's your job to put muscle to it, to see it come alive on stage or in film. You know, these words have to jump off the page. They have to mean something. What happens between the words? What's the, you know, the lighting going to look like? How is the sound effect that you have playing going to affect your story? That I really like doing. I think directing is one of the most fun things you can do as a storyteller, because your finger is on the pulse. You know, you're telling your actors your vision, you're seeing the world that you want, that, you know, that someone else may have created, but you are getting to flesh out and to paint, you know, and to fully bring to life in that regard. So that's, I think, really fun. It's really rewarding to see that. I think rewarding because as a writer, you know, I've seen so many things that I've written just kind of go away into someone else's world or someone else's thoughts, and it's fun, and I like it, but I don't feel nearly as like that. I did that. You know, I helped bring this to life. That's so fun, as I do with directing. And then as an actor, it's an even more subtle. It's a more subtle take on that exact same premise as a director, where now you're not in charge of the whole world and building the world. You're in charge of one person. You're in charge of one character's story, and that story and that person has to become completely realized, completely real to you. And you are the only person in this whole production who is going to fight for what this character needs. And that is an honor, and that is a privilege to do. No matter who you're playing, no matter what character, the hero, villain, comedic sidekick, whatever, they have needs, human, real needs and desires. And you, as an actor, get the privilege of fighting for that character and wanting to see their life fulfilled and bettered by the end of the show.
Good answer. That's really good. Like
I said, it's a lot came to my head.
There's a lot. Yeah, that's very good. Very good. I was talking with Peter Morton. He's an actor from London, amazing actor. And he talks about also how actors, like you got a king. Okay, you got a king. Mm-hmm. He says the other actors make the king. Mm-hmm. It's like, that's the king will do his own thing, but the other actors, they were the way like he says da, 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 and they go, oh yeah, right, you know. Sure. That tells you what kind of king that is. He's like a whatever kind of, or he's exactly. Like oh yes, of course, you know. And how they respond to him actually helps build that. So it's very much that collaborative thing we talked about last show, is that collaborative type
absolutely
of acting, which is fascinating to me.
Well, and that is to me, you know, a king who stands up. It's who has the power in that room. Who are we buying into the reality of this narrative? Mm-hmm. As an actor, that's your job. Mm-hmm. Your job is to, and you know, people think it's kind of silly, and it is. In a way, you get to play, you get to imagine, you get to put yourself in and what separates acting from, you know, just pure play is you are giving truth in imaginary circumstances. Mm-hmm. Wow. Your job is to react as humanly possible in the most wild, outlandish situations you could ever find yourself in. And I think that's what makes it fun, and that's what makes it work. That's what makes it. You have to train, and you have to be, you know, have some skill to be able to do that effectively.
That's cool. What gets you going about storytelling? You're very passionate about storytelling, and tell us what is your passion? What's your drive? Where did it come from?
Well, like I mentioned last episode, really, you know, my family has always been very invested in storytelling and reaching into stories to pull out truths from that can be applicable to our lives and our world. And the more I grew up, the older I got, I began to do more research and sort of figure out all of these things. And the thing that I find the most interesting is that story and the art of storytelling is one of the oldest human unifiers.
Wow. Oh, so beautifully put. Yes.
One of the oldest human unifiers that have connected us as human beings across this entire planet throughout time and space. From the beginning of time, people sat around and told stories. They related to each other. They tried to learn about each other. They tried to learn about the way the world works and make up, reasoning for why the earth shakes sometimes, or why the sun goes out and where does it go, and all of these amazing things that people from the beginning of time have told and unified themselves together as a people by storytelling. And that, to me, is just powerful.
That is powerful. Wow. And you think about it today, I mean, just looking where our country is, where America is now, it just, we seem so divided on so many different things. And when you spoke, there's something about story that unites us. Mm-hmm. And you've got conservatives and liberals, Republicans, Democrats going to a movie and enjoying it the same
exact way.
Yes. And that story is speaking, it breaks those barriers and it unites it,
because it shows us that no matter what, political party or sort of political ideology that you have, or social economic ideology that you hold to, at the end of the day, you want the good guy to win. You want to cheer for your heroes. You want to, cry with someone that's hurting. You want to emotionally invest in a story because you relate to it.
At the end of the story, they almost feel like your friends. It's almost like you go out to dinner with them. And
I've never had anything else. I mean, and even like, I'll also use sports as an example. The story of sports, it's a unifier because these teams and these fans, they've all rallied around each other because they're telling the story of this team throughout every season that they play, and they want the underdog to win. They want to come back, or they want to stay on top. And it's all this human drive for unification through storytelling.
That's so well put. And Brian, you said this earlier too about how we all are telling stories. I mean, even if you're not a so-called writer, I think we had Kenny Sargent on talking about that. He says it was a mind-blowing concept. It's like, I don't have to he doesn't enjoy blogging or journaling, but he loves telling stories. And he says, well, that's legit. That's okay. And Brian brought this up that we're all storytellers. We're even if we aren't a writer or whatever, we're telling stories like when you get to the office, or you talk to your friend, like, you're not going to believe what happened to me. Okay, there's the beginning of the story. Okay.
You become a storyteller.
Exactly. There's an ordinary world. I got a flat tire. Something happened. But then right as I got a flat tire, this truck went out of control and almost hit me. It's like, increasing obstacles. But then, and you're telling a story, and and then the end of it is, ba-dump. It's like, and ironically, we always love irony. Ironically, here I was in the middle of the highway, and yet all the traffic stopped for whatever. I'm just making it up. But we're all storytellers.
It's crazy because I know my dad listens to the podcast, but my great uncle Bill was such an amazing storyteller, and he had nothing to do with the entertainment industry. I remember this one story that caught it on video is John Sluice. And he'd just talk about this one guy, and he'd go on these diatribes about this John Sluice, what he did. And you were just completely enraptured by not only what the story that he was telling, just how he was telling. He was a performer. And I mean, this guy was a plumber for 50 plus years.
Sure.
He didn't do much out of it, but he found just the art of performing a story and just the art of telling a story. Yes. Like, he was so good at. And the awesome and sad part about it is probably none of the stories he told were true. They were just these long yarns that he would just go on talking about. And it was just so much. We didn't care if they were true or not.
I think that speaks volumes. Doesn't matter if the story is true. What matters is, do we relate to it, and can we extrapolate truth and relatability from it?
That's good.
And if that's the case, man, lay it on me.
Yeah.
If you think that every movie that you watch that is based on a true story is completely true, you're fooling yourself. What does that mean? You can't enjoy it? No, it means you can. It just means that you you put that away in your back of your head, and you invest in whatever story that writer, director, actors are telling you, and you pull what you want from it.
Caleb,
go ahead. No,
I was just gonna ask maybe a brain bending question. Is Caleb, as an actor, director, writer, what to you is the immediate signal of a dishonest story?
Oh, an immediate signal of a dishonest story.
Something that just doesn't, as like,
when you see it, you're just like, it all comes down to human behavior. I mean, and I think that if you watch a story where you see someone, we joke about this all the time with horror movies. Why in the world would you go in there? No human in their right mind would ever walk in that door.
Yes, exactly.
You're being hunted by a killer. Get out of the house. Go away.
Don't hide behind the chainsaws. Exactly. That Geico commercial.
Exactly.
I love that commercial. Yeah.
But that also leads me to that follow-up point. Yes, you can have movies that are completely unrealistic and they stray away from any sort of narrative of real human emotion and reaction, and it still could be fun. Sometimes stories are just fun and entertaining, and you can enjoy it. You can put it down. You can walk away. You never have to think about it again. You can just remember that 2-hour chunk of your life that you gotta chuckle. And sometimes we need that.
Yes, we so much do. Something else you hit on, you're talking about dishonesty and honesty in the story. I remember watching behind the scenes of Casablanca, which is one of those, the classics. And I think it was a guy named Murray that wrote the original play, Rick's Cafe, or everybody goes to Rick's or something. I can't remember the play that it was based on. Mm-hmm. But he was asked, he said, Casablanca's everybody talks about it, it's one of the top movies of all time, that kind of thing. What makes a classic? What makes a classic? And he thought about it, and he said one word. He said truth. Mm-hmm. And when he said that, it really resonated with me, like, wow, truth. And it goes back to what you're saying. You're saying, Caleb, it's talking about being true to the human condition, being true about what you're saying. And when you tap into that truth, it resonates, it unifies, as you pointed out. I love that. But it breaks geographical barriers. It breaks historical barriers. Like, it lasts for years and years and years. And
we're still telling the story of Beowulf. Still.
Yes.
We're still telling the Odyssey, the Iliad and the Odyssey. Like, how do these stories last so long? And what stories are we missing that are lost to time?
And some of them need to be lost.
Yeah, that's true. They're lost for reasons.
Yeah, maybe it didn't resonate, but the ones that are true, those are the ones that resonate and last time. So that's something for you as a writer, as you're writing. It's like, we talk about this a lot with Story Chat. We talk about a little thing we talk about is right truth. Right truth. And you're talking about, you put in the phrase of being true to the human condition. How would they really react in a situation like that? And be true, be real about that. And that's what makes it relatable, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
I love it.
That's good.
And I think, John, is early on, and I kind of harp on this sometimes. Early on, it's like, we're talking about storytelling. I don't know if I'll have enough to talk about for 100+ episodes. And honestly, one of my initial thoughts was, we're talking about truth. And if you equate truth as God is the way, the truth, the life, no one comes to the Father except through me. If you view God as truth, we could talk about truth for the rest of our lives.
And still barely scratch the surface.
Exactly. And I think, and honestly, the human condition is something we really I don't think we've touched really here. Just from that, I mean, it's completely true. It's like, absolutely, because that is an absolute.
It's interesting as you're talking about that. I'm going through auditions right now for a project, and it's like, I'm just fascinated from a director point of view, and I'm looking at actors. This relates to storytelling as well. But if I'm not buying a performance, I'm just like, why am I not buying this? Because it doesn't feel like it's true. It feels like it's put on. Like they're saying, I think I should do this now, rather than
I'm doing it for a truthful reason.
Yes. But it's artificial. And when I see it's artificial, I don't buy it. But when it's true, when it's like comes from someplace deep inside them, it's like, oh man, that was it. And there's something like, you tap into that truth, that human condition you're talking about. Yeah, that's good. What do you enjoy most about storytelling? What's something you just does something for your innards?
Man, for my innards. You get a little heartburn sometimes.
Oh, that's right.
Well, yeah, whenever you go to see one of those bad horror movies, oh, my stomach.
Oh, my spleen. Yeah, no, I think when I see, and I mentioned it in the last episode that I was on, when I see not just people that I'm explaining a story to, or that I'm telling a story to, or when I'm performing a story, when I'm directing a story, and I see the audience, whoever it is, one person, 100 people, 1,000 people, doesn't matter. When I see the audience get it, they get that thing.
Yes.
Maybe it's just one moment. Maybe it's one message. Maybe it's just but you can tell when you're telling somebody a story and they just feel it. They get it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you know that that's going to last with them. They're going to remember that moment. They're going to tell their friends about that moment.
It's going to haunt them, John. You're talking about haunting moments.
Yeah, it's going to haunt them.
Barbara Nichols.
And I have so many of those moments in my life, from stories, from everything from, Star Wars when I to superhero movies now, to the plays that I've seen, books that I've read. Those moments stick with you, and they become in a sense an integral part of who you are as a person.
Wow, that's so well put. So well put. I know when directing, there's sometimes when I'm doing a scene, and I'll do 2 or 3 takes kind of thing, and there's a take when they do it that everybody knows that was it. I mean,
that's the one.
They don't need to wait for the director to say that was the one. They don't need to wait for it. We all know it, and everybody goes, ooh. Or when you're here's another one, when you're brainstorming ideas, like as writers, and you get in a team. I love it. Team, I love that. Yes, and all of a sudden somebody says, "But what if da da da?" And we all go.
It just clicks.
You know it. It's just like there's a knowing.
Cascades.
Yes. And you just know and you build on that. I love that collaboration.
Yes.
So, yeah.
And that's what. And then you realize that whether or not it goes anywhere beyond what just happened, that moment is special for everybody that witnessed it. Everybody that was there for that moment of in time and space.
Yes.
That witnessed the birth of that idea or that creation. It means something.
It does. Well, that brings me to a story, and I'll just tell you a quick story since it's about storytelling expert. So anyway,
we're telling stories here.
Yes. So we're in. I talk about that magic moment that will never happen again, or whatever. We're in the writers' room with Adventures in Odyssey, and Kathy Buchanan's there, Marshall, Nathan. I'm sure Tori was there. Bob Hoos, and a bunch of people in the room, and I wrote this script in which somebody walks like a pregnant duck. All right. And so it's a picture. And Kathy, who never gets offended at pretty much anything. She said, can we say something besides pregnant duck? And it's like, well, okay. I tell you what, I've got a problem with the word thingy, because everybody knows that thingy, you spell with 2 G's. And she goes, no, you spell with 1 G. You spell thingy with a 1 G. No, it's thingy. So you spell 2 G's. So we're arguing, and then this brilliant moment came to me. It's like a flash of inspiration from beyond me. And I tell you what, Kathy, I will trade you a pregnant duck for a 1 G thingy. And as soon as I said it, the whole room went, because we realized that very sentence had never been uttered in the history of man. And yes. And it's like, it was a holy, sacred moment. And we was like,
the light shone down.
Yes, it did.
Your hallelujah chorus just crazy up above.
Yes. And it probably will never be said. Well, I say it over and over again. I guess it is said from then. But it never
That was the first time.
The first time ever in the history of man. Yes. So anyway, one of those moments. So anyway.
Oh, man. And just the joy of those moments.
Yes.
It's fuel. It's fuel to get through every hard time we've ever had, man.
Oh, yes. There's something about laughter, humor. It is fuel. You're exactly right. Anything else we want to touch on before we go? Anything else that
I was going to ask him,
go for it.
What's your top 3 stories of all time?
Ooh.
Oh Lord.
I know, it's always Brian comes to me like, oh my goodness, hold on.
Because I know with Caleb, this is a hard one.
Real quick, could you tell us the 3 top things that have ever been thought of in the history of man?
Yes, go. Or top 3 or top 5 in no particular order.
Okay.
No order I find makes it a lot easier to come up with.
No, it doesn't, but that's fine.
It makes it a little easier.
Sure.
Hey,
that could be movies, books, plays.
Say anything you like. About any story you like. There, I'll
tell you this.
For you. Okay.
I'll say this. My favorite story that has impacted me the most, that I have grown with the most, that I have appreciated the most over time, that I have related to in different ways. It's a growing story. It's a living story. It has been the Lord of the Rings trilogy.
That's good.
That story, just from a young age, I read it. I embraced it.
Oh, so you read it before you watched it?
Oh,
I did. I was.
Wow.
That was a rule. That was a rule in our house. You had to read the book before you watched the adaptation. Of the film.
That's great.
Huh.
I love that.
You got good parents.
That's a lot of reading too.
For an 11-year-old. Yeah, it was a lot.
Yeah.
But I did it. I stuck it out, and I was very proud of myself. But I got
that's the first one.
That's an accomplishment.
That's the first one, Caleb. You got 2 more. Okay.
Yeah. Right. Okay. So, Lord of the Rings is by far my favorite story. And then I will say a lot of, and I'm just going to kind of lump these together, but comic book stories, comic book heroes, these sort of things, Marvel and DC and different things. I think they're so cool because they're the closest thing that we have currently to our modern mythos.
Oh yeah.
To the idea of super powered people and beings, and what would that be like? And if you had this immense amount of power, it's our Hercules, it's our Sigurd and the Dragon, the Egyptian pantheon. It's all these stories that people have had throughout history that kind of got lost for a long time. And I think it's fun that with the resurgence of superhero stories, they are in essence our modern myths and morality tales. Good or bad, they all have to do with morality and teaching us lessons about right from wrong. So superhero stories, especially Stan Lee in the Golden Age, really struck chords with me and has been a huge influence into my storytelling. And then there was a children's book a long time ago, or a while ago, that I read while my brother was in the hospital as a baby. He was born premature, and he was in the NICU for many months. And so every day we would travel up there, and there was this one book in the waiting room of the NICU while my mother and my father got to hold my baby brother. I would sit there and for hours probably read this book over 20 times while we were there. And it's called The Phantom Toll Booth. And it is just a charming little story about words, about math, it's a world of conceptualized ideas become reality. And something simple as they're driving along the road and they see an island off in the distance, and it's the island of conclusions. And the only way you can get there is to jump. You have to be able to jump to the island of conclusions. And it's so clever and witty. And I embrace that story. I love it. And it
explains a lot, Caleb.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? It's where I get all my dad joke material that I tell my daughter all the time.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Anything else before we wrap up here, Caleb?
I'm good. I just really appreciate you guys taking the time to talk.
This has been fun.
Yeah.
Well, you just hit on something real quick and Brian will make sure there's nothing else to point out, but jump in. You hit something on superpowers, and it hit me as you were talking, because you were talking the last episode about how storytelling in its most noble sense is a unifier. It unifies us. It unifies us across political lines, geography lines, history lines of time, whatever. It's amazing what story does as a unifier. And it hits me as a writer, we all have this superpower. We have the superpower to write, and it is a superpower. It's a power that can unify us as humans, like you pointed out, And also, I teach a course on how your story can change the world, the power of your story to change the world through history. Absolutely. Charles Dickens, Harriet Beecher Stowe, Leo Tolstoy, all these guys, like they made an impact on the world around them, changed laws, changed government. Yes, because of stories. There's a superpower you have as a writer. And that's why I think the enemy wants to discourage us so much.
Absolutely.
And so we got to be.
That's that question. That's that question that everyone always asks, and I think it's very fascinating. Does culture influence art, or does art influence culture?
Oh, wow. And
I think it's whoever gets the jump on it first.
Exactly.
I think if you want to see culture change and you're an artist, you better show the world the change that you want to see through your art.
Yeah, exactly.
Before culture changes what art you are allowed to show.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Very well put. Very well put. Well, Kevin, it's been great to have you with us, man. Thank you. Thanks for. I love talking story with you, and I love your enthusiasm, and just a lot of fun. Of fun. All right.
Have a great time.
Well, blessings, man, and just bless you, and you're getting ready to move to California. That's pretty exciting. So I'll see you when you come. We'll connect.
We'll connect out there. Yep. Absolutely.
Sounds great. Well, blessings, and I want to encourage you guys as you're listening, as you're watching. You've got a superpower. And use it, hone that skill.
Absolutely.
And that's what you want to do. Just take that skill to another level, and see what God does with it. And you know what? If you're just starting, I'm going to encourage you. I'm going to challenge you to take one step. Just take one step in that direction, whatever that is with storytelling, right?
Do the thing.
Do the thing, as Brian put it. And Caleb is doing this. Like he feels called to California to take his art to another level. He's taking the step. So do the thing, as Brian would say. So blessings to you in your journey, and it's an honor to be here with you.
Thank you. Same here.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Story Chat. If you want to hear more, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast. If you have any questions for John or feedback on the show, please email us at storychatwithjohn@gmail.com. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.